So I'm recording. So I'm just going to create a new directory called make directory, JavaScript. Yeah, fundamentals. There we go. ls cd JavaScript. I'm going to create a file called, touch test or practice.js, practice.javascript. All right, and there's my practice JavaScript file. And so we're just going to cover very basic stuff. So with that, I'm going to cover what are the three types. We're going to cover like data types. So what are the three different ways we can create a string?
Single quotes.
So single quotes,
double quotes, and then what you call it, backtick.
Okay, so single quotes, double quotes, string 2. And strings can also be numbers, or like you can also include like the actual values, but it's still a string. It's not a number yet. And then I heard backticks. So this is a string. Interpolation enables you to put JavaScript in line. Yeah, like right here. Right in here. And in order to put JavaScript functions or I'm sorry, variables, you can do like some variable. But in order to, so let some variable equal like Tom or something like that. So there's three ways we can do strings: single quotes, double quotes, and backticks. This is string interpolation. All right. Let's talk about numbers. What are the two types of numbers we can have?
Int and a float, right?
Yep. So like this is a floating number. And like a whole number. What are Boolean values?
True, false.
True, false.
True, false. So Boolean value. What is null?
Just the lack of.
There's no value attached to it on purpose.
Yep.
Like a placeholder, maybe?
Well, it's not a placeholder, but people do put it as a place. It's not a placeholder, but like if it explicitly says, hey, this has no value. So the literal non-existence of a value. So with that, what's undefined? Because a lot of times undefined is people put undefined versus null. So what's undefined mean?
Is that when a variable doesn't have a value?
Yep. So, well, there is a value, but it has yet to be defined. So null is like, hey, this literally has, like, this variable literally has no value. Whereas undefined is like, this does have a value, but the value has yet to be defined. How do we do an array? Also called as a list.
Brackets.
Yep. So you can have an array of a bunch of stuff, array of numbers, pretty much an array of anything. You can have an array of arrays. You can even have like an array of objects. Stuff like that. Speaking of objects, what is an object? Like, how do we define it?
Curly bracket.
Curly brackets. And what's unique about objects, also known as hashes or dictionaries?
You have, key value pairs.
Yep,
Or,
key value pairs.
yeah.
So if you literally think of like a dictionary of words, you have the word, and then you have the value of that word or the meaning of that word. Something like that. All right. What are the 3 different ways we can declare variables?
Let const var.
1, yep, const. 2, and var is a variable that we don't ever usually want to use. What's the difference between let and const?
Let can be changed when, like, your algorithm assigns a new value to it.
Whereas const value cannot be changed. Cool. So if I were to try to do like var2 equals 6 now, and actually ran this, let's see if is there any errors in here. Nope. So I got to do node practice. See what it says. What happened? Oh, yeah, because, all right. Trying to comment this stuff out. So it says like var2 assignment to constant variable. Like I can't reassign that value. Cool.
Hey, Tom, how
Yep.
do you comment multiple lines like that?
Oh, I just literally, so in order to, you highlight whatever and then you just do command /.
Thank you.
Command /. Yep. All right. So how do we print stuff to the screen? Or
Console
to the, yeah.
Console
sorry.
log.
Yep, console log. Can I see this? Saw this. And to the log or console. There we go. All right. How do we test whether things are equal to one another?
You have double equal and triple equal.
Okay. So we have double equal. So 2 equals 2. What is this gonna print? Or what is this gonna be?
That would be true. True.
True. And I heard triple equal. What is this gonna be?
False.
So what's the difference between this double equal and triple equal sign?
Double equal can differentiate between it can read integers and it can read strings, and it can it's smart enough to know that the integer 2 and the string 2 are the same, whereas the triple equal is more exact. So the string, even though they both say 2, the string and the integer are not going to be equal because they're not the same data type.
Exactly. They're not the same data type. So double equals, it's like the same value, whereas triple equals, it's value and type. So if you do like type of 2 and type of string 2, one's a number and one's a string. So that's what the triple equal also checks. All right. there's also, we can do like greater than or greater than, less than. So like greater than, whoops, oh, greater than, less than, greater than or equals to, less than or equals to. You can do, oh, shoot. All right. We can test of things whether things are not true. So does 2 not equal 3? What is that going to be? What's that going to return?
True.
True. Yep. How do we do and like test 2 things at the same time?
2 ampersands.
2 ampersands. So like 2 or 1 is less than 3 and 1 is greater than 2. What is it going to return? 2 is less than 3 is true, but 1,
False.
so it's going to return false. So both of these have to return false or true in order the entire statement to be true.
What's that little light bulb that keeps popping up?
Where?
When you start to like highlight
Oh,
there.
I do not know that. Extract to function in global scope. Yeah, I do not know what that.
Give like suggestions.
Yeah, or something. That's weird. Never even clicked on that before. And then we also have or, which you can do via the double pipes. That's what that's called, a pipe. So what is this going to be return?
True.
True. So only one of these has to be true for the entire statement to be true. All right. What are the 3 different ways we can declare a function?
Function.
Yep, function, and then some function, and then you know console log 5, return 5, and then how do we invoke this function? Just
Call it some function parentheses.
Yep. Now if we do that, we have 5.
You can declare a variable and assign it an anonymous function.
So a some function, we're going to declare a variable equals, is it function? And then console log 6 or whatever, 6, return 6. So you're declaring a variable and then assigning it a function that does not have a name. So if we call some function again, see if this works. 6. All right. What's the third and final way?
The fat arrow functions.
A fat arrow function. So these 2 ways are like the old way of declaring functions in JavaScript, but with ES6 introduced the fat arrow functions, which is kind of like a function shorthand that looks exactly kind of like an anonymous function, but it's not an anonymous function. It is a fat arrow function. It has additional properties and functions in a little bit different way. So we do some function equals open bracket, closing bracket, or parentheses, followed by an arrow equal sign and a less than or greater than sign. So console 6 or 7, return 7. They're all invoked the same way, but this is a fat arrow function.
What would be the use case for a fat arrow function?
Going forward all the time.
Oh, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, like going forward, it's got some additional functionality. You'll see when we get into this in the context of this, like literally the word this, or self the same thing as self is in Python, but you'll see it in React where the differences matter in the functionality of it. So fat arrow. So this is the new way to declare functions. Now, if you declare functions this way, it's totally fine still, but the new way in ES6, which is the new JavaScript standard, fat arrow functions are go-to.
Does it work the same way? You can pass whatever arguments you need to into that?
Literally everything is the same. You can like num1, num2, and console log num1 plus num2, and like 3 and 5. Oh, what? Why didn't it?
Is it because it's just returning?
Yeah. So there. But if you wanted to actually see that, you can just console log. There you go. So yeah, it still operates the same, but it's just got some additional capabilities. But nothing as far as you don't actually have to do anything like differently in writing a fat arrow function other than using the double or the equal sign and the arrow. But yeah, we'll see this fat arrow function more in React. All right. What else?
Would you always declare it with const, or would let ever be used there?
I mean, you can do it either or, but if you expect that this actual function to change at all, you just keep it as const, but you can do it let as well. You're not going to get docked or anything for that. But I generally just do const if this function doesn't actually, unless this function is assigned a different value, then I usually just do const. All right. Talk about, we have if else statements. If something, so if 2 equals 2, do something else, do something else. We also have if else if statements. So if you want to do a bunch of them, else if, do something else, followed by a final else statement. Do this if nothing else is true. So what kind of, there's some while loops, or I'm sorry, what are the two different ways we can do loops? I already said one.
While loops.
While loop. While true, do something. And then what's unique about while loops is that like while let value equals true, while value is true, do something until value equals false. So this while loop will continue to execute over and over again until at some point this value changes to false. Just like it'd be like while value is greater than 1, console log value, and then but we also have to like decrement or change the value, otherwise we'll get into what is called an infinite loop. If I run this, There we go. But if I didn't change that, if I didn't decrement value, it's gonna blow up. Oh no, it's going. See, it's just continuing to execute until I just kill the program, or until I run out of memory, and then it's gonna say like max stack or some stack, maximum something. It'll throw an error.
Can you talk on do while loops? Because I kind of struggled with. I've never encountered needing to use one, but
Yeah, I've actually never used a do while loop in the real world. I don't think I've ever written a do while loop, probably in over a year and a half.
A do while will execute the block one time before it starts the loop. So if you whatever you have in the block that is your logic for the loop, it will execute that one time before the loop ever starts, basically. So it runs that, then checks the condition, and then continues to run it if the condition is still met after that point.
So it runs this first, and then it'll check this condition.
Yep, it'll execute that do block one time before the loop ever begins, and then it will start evaluating the condition and then continue to do the things in the do block.
in what instances would you want to use something like that?
Any instance where you need to execute that code before the loop ever begins. So I can't think of one off the top of my head. I also have not had to explicitly use a do while loop for anything. Most cases, I write more Python. Python doesn't have do while loops, but I still can't think of a scenario where I've had to do that yet.
Yeah, I've never seen a do while loop in the wild. In the wild.
No worries.
In CS50, there was C language, and they were he was using the do while for prompting. So we are prompting first time and then. So I think it's the best, best use for do while.
That makes sense. All right. So how do we? So there's also for loops, right? Let I equal 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus, console log I. We could do that real quick. There we go. Let object. We can loop through an object as well. So how do we loop through an object?
Or in loop.
For how do you write it?
For parentheses, keys in employee. And then
Just
console.log employee bracket keys.
See this. Tom instructor. You can also do for let key an employee and just do the key as well. Oh, that's the key. Employee. Same thing. All right. So does anybody have any questions about just JavaScript basics or anything? Nope.
Hey, Tom, Matt here.
Yep.
So just so I'm clear, unlike Python, there's no way to directly for loop over the elements of an array or a string like you can in Python. You have to do it over an indice, basically, if that makes sense.
For like an array, or
yeah, so like in Python, you could loop over the array by, instead of saying for let I equal whatever to whatever, you can just iterate over the items. There's no way in JavaScript to do a similar thing. You always have to go through the indexes, if that makes sense.
Oh, indexes. I believe so. I don't think you can, unless there is a.
The let in loop will do it for an array.
There's also a for of loop. For of will do what you're talking about.
For yeah, there's multiple ways to loop through things. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is a way, but I never really use them. Let's see. We can actually Google. Let's do it. Looping through an array without indexes. JavaScript. So there's this. What the hell? So this is just like a basic for loop. There's a for each. It's one way to do it. So yeah, if you want to, are you specifically looking for a for loop or just a way to iterate through it?
Yeah, just a way to iterate. Like in a, I was also thinking of a string, like in Python, you could say for char and string, and it would go character by character through the string.
So you can do like for each, and then grab each element and console log element. So it's like for each element or each index in the array, execute this function. Do something like that.
Yeah, that's same intent. Okay.
Yeah. You'll see it for each more often than you would see anything else other than like a basic for loop. Yeah. Well, yeah, let's see if there is other ways. There's filter. Oh, geez. Yeah.